We have a broken window. There's a weight that was thrown into the window. She doesn't know who.
She's about to get off. It's almost 5 p.m. and she has a flight to catch to Fort Lauderdale, which is where some of her family members live, but she never boarded that flight.
Somebody's missing and you don't think it's serious.
On September 24th, 2021, Miya Mercano was supposed to board a plane to go visit her family in Fort Lauderdale. Her family in Fort Lauderdale were already waiting at the airport to pick her up, but one by one, they watched as people on the same flight Miya was supposed to be on got off the flight, except Miya. They instantly knew something was wrong and called the authorities to report her missing. When the officers got to Arden Villas Apartment, they discovered an unsettling scene that triggered a large-scale investigation into her disappearance. Unbeknownst to them, the perpetrator has been hiding in plain sight.
Obsessive text to Miya. We have all seen the text. You talked about giving her your life savings. You cash out her money, and you claim that you weren't in touch.
Miya Mercano was described as a vibrant young woman who was always full of joy and taught everyone around her to love. She grew up in a family of 4 with her older brother and her mom and dad. Though her nuclear family was small, her extended family was very large. Miya had many cousins, aunts and uncles all across the United States and the Caribbean that she was very close to and kept in contact with. From the moment she was born, her family knew she was a star. She had the ability to draw people to her, and everyone just automatically gravitated towards her. She had a bright smile and a warm spirit. People loved her.
19-year-old Miya Mercano was a vibrant, hopeful college student. She graduated from Flanagan High School, moving to Orlando to attend college.
After high school, Miya decided to move from Broward County, Florida, where she grew up, to the Orlando area to attend college. Like any father would, her dad helped her move into her Arden Villas Apartment at the start of the school year. Knowing a young girl living alone wasn't safe, he installed locks on the windows and supplied her with tasers and pepper sprays so she could protect herself. He made sure she was settled in and safe before he left her to begin her new journey. But little did he know, the place where she should feel the safest would become the place where she felt the most fear. On September 24th, 2021, at around 5 p.m., Miya got off work at the Arden Villas Apartment, where she lived and worked. She headed straight to her apartment to get her things, as she had a flight home to Fort Lauderdale, where her family lived. Except, Miya never got on that flight. After her family realized that, they were instantly worried. It was unlike Miya not to follow her schedule or to change her mind last minute without telling anyone about it. She also wasn't picking up her calls and answering her texts, which was very unlike her. Miya would never miss an opportunity to see her family for any reason. At 9:23 p.m., Miya's mom called the sheriff's office in Orange County to request a wellness check to be done on Miya.
Orange County Sheriff's Office, this line is being recorded. This is Operator Winstead. How may I help you?
Hi, good night. I'm calling to find out if I can have a wellness check, please.
But when the officers got to Miya's apartment at Arden Villas, they walked into a rather disturbing scene. Miya's family also called WESH 2, a local TV station in Orange County. They couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone horribly wrong, and they wanted as many eyes as possible looking for her.
That Saturday, I get into work and we get a call from someone who says they are a family member of Miya, and they're worried because she's missing, and they tell us this is not like her. We believe she's in danger.
By the time the media got to Miya's apartment, officers from the sheriff's office were already there and had taped it off as a crime scene. Inside Miya's apartment, however, the officers noticed many unsettling details. A bookshelf had been wedged against the door of her room. The locks on the window her father installed for her had been broken, and the discovery that sent chills down their spines was the red bodily fluid discovered on her pillow. There was no sign of Miya in the apartment. From the evidence in her room, it was very clear that Miya hadn't just walked out of the apartment by herself. Someone had been there. Someone had taken her.
Miya was kidnapped. Miya was kidnapped out of her room in Arden Villas through her bedroom window. I'm calling on all resources. At this point, the FBI, we need you.
The search for 19-year-old Miya Mercano began. Her family, friends, and members of law enforcement joined in the search to find Miya.
Miya Mercano was last seen at this apartment complex on Arden Villas Boulevard Friday evening, and now flyers like this one are posted around the property begging for the community's help to find the 19-year-old.
Media all over South Florida and even Florida as a whole began to pick up Miya's story, and everyone in the community saw Miya's face plastered on their screen every night. Soon enough, the whole community joined in the search for Miya. While they were searching for her, Miya's family held a vigil at the place she was last seen, praying for answers, hoping that someone would come forward with information that would lead them to her.
And all we ask you is to help us bring Miya home, bring her home safe. Just drop her off and let us know where she is. We'll pick her up, just bring her home.
As time went by and Miya still wasn't found, her family didn't give up. They continued to search for her and push for further investigation, but unfortunately, there was still no sign of her. But then, a few days into her disappearance, a body was found.
911, you need police, fire, medical?
We found a on property.
In the months after her move, her life would come to a brutal end.
While it wasn't Miya, the body found would lead to a huge break in the case.
27-year-old Armando Caballero was found dead at a Seminole County apartment complex on Monday. Police believe he committed suicide.
So what does one man who unalived himself have to do with Miya's disappearance? Well, nothing at first, but a closer look at Armando Caballero revealed a few links to Miya Mercano. Though there was nothing on the scene where Armando was found that led to Miya, investigators soon discovered that he worked at Arden Villas Apartments as a maintenance worker, the same place Miya worked.
They said he was a maintenance worker at the Arden Villas Apartments near UCF.
Miya's father recognized Armando. He remembered seeing him the day he helped Miya move in. He had been hanging around the apartment, driving around in a golf cart. But the closer they looked into Armando, the more they realized that he wasn't who he said he was at all. While Miya's dad didn't remember anything else about Armando, Miya's aunts and cousins remembered a whole lot more.
He's missing and you don't think it's serious.
Someone
maybe
that
they hanging out. They got this place right here. They go downtown. I don't know. Maybe her phone's off.
On the night Miya went missing, her aunt remembered confronting Armando about Miya's disappearance. They had suspected he had something to do with Miya's disappearance. Although there was no physical evidence tying Armando to Miya's disappearance, investigators decided to do a deep dive on him. What they found was shocking. They found out that Armando had been arrested in 2013 for making a homemade explosive device as a prank, but there was more. Perhaps the most alarming discovery came when they found out that Armando had an extensive criminal history.
There was an incident in another county in Florida where a woman reported that there was a gym weight thrown through her window.
Thankfully, that young woman was nowhere near the window when the weight was thrown in, but she was shaken by the encounter.
We have a broken window. There's a weight that was thrown into the window. She doesn't know who.
A few days later, she told officers that she thought it was Armando because he had asked her out and she had rejected him.
And she mentioned Armando's name to investigators and said she believes that could have been him because they had a situation where she rejected his romantic advances towards her.
She felt the weight through her window had been his way of getting revenge on her for rejecting him. No charges were filed against him at the time, as there hadn't been proof that he was the one who threw the weight, and there was nothing stopping him from doing something similar years later. Armed with Armando's criminal history, it was becoming more clear that he could have been the one who took Miya. But why? Had he been interested in Miya? Had she rejected him?
obsessive text to Miya. We have all seen the text. You talked about giving her your life savings. You cash out her money, and you claim that you weren't in touch.
It turned out Miya had told her aunt and cousins that Armando was obsessed with her. He had sent her some pretty disturbing texts, and no matter how often she told him she wasn't interested, it only served to fuel him more.
We know Armando Caballero is a suspect, and the sheriff says this guy was interested in Miya. He was constantly rejected by her because he wanted to pursue her in a romantic way, and Miya was not interested.
Armando Caballero became the #1 suspect in the disappearance of Miya Mercano, but there was only one problem. He was dead. Investigators couldn't question him to try to get him to confess to where Miya was, so they had no choice but to keep looking for her.
A $15,000 reward is being offered for information that can lead to Miya Mercano.
Her family continued to hold vigils to pray for her safe return. They held on to hope that she was alive and she would be returned to them safe and sound.
Miya is alive and she's suffering. I want my granddaughter home.
Though they didn't find Miya, they did receive another break in the case.
The family tells WESH 2 Facebook shows Miya's last check-in was in Orlando on September 28th, 4 days after she disappeared.
On September 28, 2021, Miya's family had logged onto her Facebook page and saw that the last time Miya checked her Facebook was on that day.
Sometimes on Facebook, it tracks your location, the last time you logged in. And I see that she was active the same day that we were still searching for Miya. I call investigators and Orange County Sheriff's Office, and I ask them about it.
The investigators, however, believed this might have just been an error on Facebook's part, and it wasn't really Miya. Miya's family, though, were not giving up. On October 1st, 2021, it had now been a week since Miya vanished, and they held another candlelight vigil to pray.
Well, you can see hundreds of candles are back out here outside of the apartments of Miya Mercano's. This marks exactly 1 week since the 19-year-old was last seen. The vigil was guided by a local priest who took everyone through a short service and prayer. But after that, the family said they wanted to make this vigil a little more upbeat than those previous. The family still holding onto hope that Miya will return to them.
They were determined to keep the hope alive until she was found.
We're determined to find Miya, so that's what powers us through, and we know that if she's fighting, we're fighting.
And luckily for them, investigators got another break in the case. At that time, they didn't have Amarnado to tell them where Miya was, so they decided to use his cell phone to track his movement on that tragic night. They tracked Amarnado's cell phone and found out that he had been at Timberscan Apartments not far from Arden Villas. He had spent about 20 minutes there on the night she went missing. Investigators sent out search teams to that area, and unfortunately, they found something.
We sent search teams out first thing this morning. That's when they found what we believe to be Miya.
Miya was found with her hands and legs bound, and tape had been placed over her mouth.
We can't imagine the pain and anguish that Miya's parents, their family, the loved ones, and the friends, and really our entire community have gone through and will continue to go through.
Miya's family was completely heartbroken.
I can't even put into words how we're feeling right now as a family. I feel defeated. I feel like I failed my cousin, and I don't know how we're gonna get through this.
It turned out Miya was traveling home to attend Carnival with her family in Miami, but instead, her entire family poured in from all over the country and the Caribbean to attend her memorial.
This was supposed to be a time when it was full of celebration and full of joy, but instead it's full of sorrow.
After Miya's body was found, her family had a lot more questions than answers. What had happened to her the night she went missing? And how did she get from her Arden Villa apartment to the woods where she was found? The Orange County Sheriff's Office released a full report on their investigation of what happened to Miya Mercano on that tragic night. According to the report, Armando Caballero had illegally and against Arden Villas apartment policy entered Miya's apartment at 4:34 p.m. using a maintenance on-call key fob. According to the Mercado family lawyer, he had been stalking Miya, so he knew exactly when she would be getting off work. After getting access into Miya's apartment, all he had to do was wait for her to return home.
Miya's at work at Arden Villas, and she's about to get off work. It's almost 5 p.m., and when she heads to her apartment, she uses her key fob to get in. She walks into her apartment, and there's someone standing there.
And at 5:06 p.m., Miya's key fob activated the door to her apartment. That's when Armando attacked her and a struggle ensued. Evidence found at Miya's apartment proved that there was a struggle. Evidence like the condition of her room and bed, broken jewelry which was found on the floor, and red stains of bodily fluids found on her bedroom and living room pillow. By 5:50 p.m., investigators believe Armando had already taken Miya's life and transported her body to the trunk of his car through her bedroom window. Investigators figured that out because the lock Miya's dad installed on the windows had been broken. Armando was seen leaving the apartment complex at around 5:52 p.m., the report says, and he went home where he stayed for less than 30 minutes before returning to the Arden Villas complex at around 7 p.m. He then called in a fake maintenance order from a Google number he created so he would have a reason to return to the apartment complex. At around 7:38 p.m., Armando left the Arden Villas area and through tag records, phone records, and vehicle GPS GPS data, investigators said he arrived at the Timberscon Apartments at around 8:30 p.m., where he abandoned Miya's body from his car and placed her in a heavily wooded area that leads to a lake behind the complex. What happened to Miya revealed a lot of errors in the way the apartment complex worked, the lack of proper background checks on their employees that allowed them to miss Armando's criminal history.
They conducted an extensive background check. It definitely was not extensive enough.
The fact that other people have access to the apartment complex outside of the renters themselves.
If you really think about it, people who are living in apartment complexes, they're going to sleep at night not knowing that there is someone that has free access to their apartment. And I think now people are really starting to think about just how serious of an issue that really is.
The lack of adequate security at the apartment complex.
How was this even able to happen? How did they let this happen?
All of these raised questions amongst the residents of the apartment complex. This could have happened to anyone. The questions raised went beyond the apartment complex.
It's very clear that there was some negligence that was involved in this case. That's no secret.
The investigation into Miya's disappearance unveiled a lot of negligence in the way the Orange County Sheriff's Office handled the case.
I mean, the bottom line, clearly there are inconsistencies in this incident report that's giving people actually more questions than answers.
On September 25, 2021, a day after Miya vanished, Miya's dad, Arden Villas, called the sheriff's office to come back to Miya's apartment at Arden Villas around 3:52 p.m. He and other family members had driven up from Fort Lauderdale and noticed concerning things in her apartment regarding her disappearance, including a box cutter that was found in her room. That box cutter had not been documented when the officers visited the apartment on the day of the disappearance. That same morning, just after 4 a.m., the sheriff's office said Armando was seen outside Miya's apartment in his car. He stepped out of his car to speak with deputies and told them he was at the apartment complex because he was just informed by a co-worker that Miya was missing. But Miya's family members weren't buying it. They believed they saw a blanket that looked like Miya's in his car, and while the deputy on scene chose not to pursue the blanket issue further.
Some things were not reported, like a box cutter that was found in her room, how they didn't urgently submit her case into the missing endangered person cases within the office.
But there was more. Miya's family's attorney, Daryl Washington, accused deputies of saying Miya's disappearance wasn't a high-priority case, and they also refused to document the fingerprints found on Miya's window by the security guard. Miya's family also told the deputy that they saw a key fob drop out of Armando's lap. When he got out of the car, he had Miya's blanket and a black backpack in his car, and the family caught him in several lies regarding his encounters with Miya. But the deputy didn't take any of that seriously. On September 26, 2021, 2 days after Miya disappeared, investigators interviewed two people, including one of her co-workers, who she was very close to. Both people told investigators that Armando had a romantic interest in Miya, but she did feel the same way and made that known to him. During the two separate interviews, they both stated that Armando sent Miya $600 through Cash App, which she tried to refund, but he kept resending the payment. During the investigators' third visit to the Arden Villas Apartment complex, just before 4 p.m. on September 25, 2021, multiple members of Miya's family were on the scene and pointed him toward additional pieces of evidence they claim he missed during his first two visits. Like a screwdriver Miya's family had seen in a bag, a cell phone case on the floor, and an unknown blanket in the back seat of Armando's vehicle, all of which was pointed out by the security guard on duty at the complex. Those items alleged to have been in Armando's possession were not followed up on at the time by the investigators, but it doesn't end there. 4 members of Miya's family staked out Armando's apartment in Winter Park, Flaw, later that same evening and found him removing various items from the back seat of his car while carrying medical-grade blue rubber gloves, a dark-colored book bag, and an unknown type of multi-pink colored blanket back to his apartment. The errors in the investigation, while it might not have saved Miya's life, could have led investigators to Armando, and he would have led them to Miya a lot sooner than they found her. He would also have paid for his crimes, and Miya's family would have gotten some kind of closure from watching justice take its course in that case. Because of the poor way the case was handled, 2 investigators in the Orange County Sheriff's Office were reprimanded for their negligence in Miya's case.
Since that horrific night when they found out what happened to their daughter, they wasted no time in taking action and making sure that they honor their daughter.
Since Miya's passing, many questions have been raised about safety and security, even behind locked doors. Miya's family fought for other parents to not experience the pain they experienced when they lost Miya. That fight resulted in major change in how apartment complexes are run today.
In a room with those who loved her most, the family of Miya Mercano saw the bill bearing her name signed into law.
On June 27, 2022, the Florida Senate unanimously approved a bill that aims to improve tenant safety in apartment buildings. The bill was named Miya's Law, as it was inspired by 19-year-old Miya Mercano. Miya's Law strengthens requirements regarding access to individual units, increases required notice to 24 hours, requires apartments to establish policies for issuing and returning keys, and requires a key log to be maintained with access only given to authorized individuals.
After all this pain and heartache, I mean, it's not going to bring her back, but we have victory and it feels really, really good.
Miya's Law, it's not even just about kids. It's about everybody. Anybody who decides to live in an apartment where anybody can have access to your private space. It could be anybody. You know, your home is your safe place.
Years later, though Miya's family still struggles with their loss, they're comforted by their fight to make the world safer for other people.
You know, it's something that it'll play in my mind over and over throughout every day. So many memories. My mind is just left to wander. Like I said, I go through the motions day by day.
Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you know of other similar cases? Let me know in a comment. And before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time, and stay safe.